This is our webinar, Fearless, Fear Less. So we've discussed, now this is our fifth episode, and the very first episode kicking off in January. It was really about challenging assumptions, the assumptions we make about ourselves, the things we can and can't do, or what we think we can and can't do, to really begin to uncover limiting beliefs and fear-based beliefs that we have, where we just it's like going through life with the brakes on. So we really started with underlying assumptions and trying to uncover just what's going on at the subconscious level. So I might say I'm not afraid of something, or I'm going to will something to be done, but subconsciously the mind is saying, no, you aren't. You're not going to, you've tried that 100 times. You're not going to do that. So we meet with our own worst enemy, if you will. We get in our own way. So that was the first session. And then in the second session, we talked about vision. And I challenged all of you to draw a picture of yourself 5 years out. Aristotle said the soul never thinks without a picture. So draw a picture of yourself 5 years out and be very specific. Physically, what do you look like? What do you weigh? How do you feel physically? Emotionally, how do you feel emotionally 5 years out? How do you feel? How are you doing financially? What kind of numbers are you looking at? What are you doing professionally? Okay. How about mentally? How bright do you feel? How's your focus and your concentration, your memory, things like that? Really be specific and draw this picture out. Your relationships, who are you with? Or who do you want to be with? And maybe who don't you want to be with? Could be anything. And then the real key is to stretch, all right? And then uncover any doubt you have about that. So if you draw, I'm going to be super, super successful. I know I did this and I told you this about my own past. I've been doing this 5-year visioning thing for over 30 years. And when I first got started, my vision was, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to be an award-winning author. Now I've got 20 books published. I'm going to be on the world stage with some of the top names in the speaking industry, and that's been true. I'm going to make X amount of $1 million, and that's happened. So the idea is to stretch and then uncover any resistance you feel that's getting in your way. And when you do that and you hit the delete button, we're programmed to add. So we add more things to our life. We add more courses. We add more training. We add more space. We add we add. When we have a problem, we think, what can we add to solve it? I come at it differently. And it's like, what can I delete? And I've talked in other classes about the closet space syndrome, where we fill up our closets with all kinds of things. We fill up our time with all kinds of things. And then we think we don't have enough, or we need more space. We need more time. No, you don't. No, you don't. What you need to do is delete things that are meaningless, unproductive, distractions, disruptions. Delete, and you'll find out you've got all the time you need. Okay? You've got all the space you need. You've got everything you need right now. And so use what you have to grow and to prosper. So then we looked at being present. And I had Allie Sweeney, one of our fuel instructors, on, and we talked about examples of where we had to overcome some subconscious programming. Allie had a rough upbringing, and in my own life, I had this programming of I'm not worthy. I was hearing this mantra every week in church, and it's something wrong with me. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy to be able to do what other people can do. And that doubt was holding me back for decades until I uncovered it and found out how to delete it, to just with techniques like emotional freedom technique, which is in one of my field courses, and it's meridian tapping, and it's a release process where you can basically release any fear, any phobia, any doubt you have on anything. So if you're not familiar with EFT, emotional freedom technique, you can easily Google it. It's easily learned. I've even taught it in some of our fuel courses and in Mindset Matters. So look at that. Maybe we'll add that tool to one of these sessions. So emotional freedom technique. So with Allie, we found a way to delete these programs that hold us back. And in each of these sessions, I've given you a tool to use for root cause analysis. It was the 5 whys. Why am I afraid? And you take it 5 levels deep. And the answer is because you're mistaken. You don't know any better. The Buddha said it, Jesus said it. The root cause of every problem on earth is called ignorance. We don't know any better. If we knew better, we'd do better. So when we get down to that level, then how do I change it? How do I solve a problem at that root cause level? And the answer is you learn that you've been wrong about your mind. So Eckhart Tolle, a fascinating spiritual teacher, master, Eckhart says this. He says, the problem is really not that you're using your mind wrongly. You're not using it at all. It's using you. Think about that for a minute. It's using you. Your mind wants you, which is your ego, wants you to think you're it. So it's running your life. You're not running its life. This is like the kingdom is reigning over the king or queen. Wrong. We take ownership of our minds as a tool. We use it as a tool. So just stop and think about this for a minute. When somebody says or you say, I changed my mind, who's saying that? Who's I? I changed my mind. Because you're not going to say that if you think you're your mind, or you're going to say your mind is telling you to be afraid of something, and you're not taking control of that and saying, I'll understand the fear. I'll use the fear to uncover something that could go wrong. In one of the sessions, I gave you the FMEA tool, the failure mode and effect analysis tool. And that tool is essentially a simplified version is saying anything I'm going to do, what could go wrong? How likely is that to happen? How serious is it if it does? And what can I do to prevent it or mitigate the risk? So you're going to get on a plane to fly somewhere. What could go wrong? You can imagine. Uh, wow, what if the plane, crashes? And I'm on planes all the time. I don't even think about that. I changed the channel, so to speak. But some people are terrified to get on a plane. But when you look at the statistics, the likelihood of that is so minimal. It's so minimal that it's really nothing to worry about. In fact, it's safer to fly than to drive, okay? So when you start to really look at why would I be afraid of anything? I'm going to get up and give a speech, a keynote. Public speaking terrifies a lot of people. Why would I be afraid of that? And the reason is because we're projecting something might go wrong. The only reason we fear anything is because we think something's going to go wrong and we dwell on that. And that triggers the hormones in our body, the heart rate and all that. And then we think we have no control over that. Well, I'm just feel what I feel. And a lot of people are programmed with that. You can't change your feelings. Yes, you can. You change your feelings by changing your mind. So I'm going to share my screen now and give you another tool and a formula. So the tool is called the map of consciousness. And it was developed by Dr. David Hawkins, the late David Hawkins, who was an MD, a PhD, a ground prince, and he taught at Oxford and Harvard, lectured all over the world. And he developed this tool called the map of consciousness. And essentially, uh, it's all about energy frequencies. And everything has a frequency. Einstein said this, everything is energy. Match the frequency of that which you want, and you cannot help but get it. It's as simple as that. He said, this is not philosophy, this is physics. Match your frequency to the frequency of whatever you want, because it has a frequency. You cannot help but get it. Some call that now the law of attraction. When you match vibrationally anything you want to manifest, and you hold that vibration, it will come. It has to. It's universal law. So the map of consciousness now shows us different frequencies, and the more we take control of our mind and manage these frequencies, it's like changing the dial on a radio. Every channel is a different frequency. And if you don't like the channel you're listening to, change it. You have the power to do that. That's what the king does over the kingdom, or the queen over the kingdom. So the map of consciousness, let me pull this up and share it. And I see a chat here that our son uses this technique often. There you go. And this is great. So good. So let me share my screen real quickly. And you should now see the map of consciousness. Is that visible for everyone? All right, you see that? So what you see here at the very bottom left as a frequency, it's and by the way, the scale goes from 0 to 100 to 1,000, and if you're at 0, you're not alive in human form, anyways. So way down at the bottom is the frequency of shame. And sometimes parents, not knowing any better, will say to a child, "Shame on you. You should be ashamed." That's very dark, deep, dangerous programming. Because when you grow up with that belief, that subconscious belief, which runs over 95% of your life, the subconscious mind, and is a million times more powerful in processing data than the conscious mind. And the conscious mind's rarely present. I've talked about this before. The conscious mind is the mind that thinks about the past and triggers certain feelings, thinks about the future, triggers certain feelings. Could be enthusiasm and excitement, or it could be anxiety and fear. That's the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is just running programs, most of which were downloaded by the age of 6. So you're running on programs, 95% of your life is running on programs that you don't even know because they're subconscious and they're powerful. And if they're limiting, you're getting in your own way. And at that root cause, you don't know any better. That's where I know it sounds like a critical word, ignorance, but Socrates, one of the brightest thinkers in history, said essentially that wisdom means you don't know anything. True wisdom means I don't know what I don't know. I don't know anything. So what? And it's because what we think we know is a perception, and it's not necessarily truth. Think about looking at the ocean 1,000 years ago, and you'd swear the Earth is flat, right? And not moving, certainly. It's everything's moving around us. We're the center of the universe. And no, wrong. We're hurling through space at over 65,000 miles per hour, and we're spinning at over 1,000 miles per hour, and we're certainly not flat. Okay. So even when we perceive something to be true, doesn't mean it is. So the whole idea of challenging our assumptions, which is a theme throughout this, is to say, let me at least challenge my own thoughts about anything, quite honestly. So when we look at this map of consciousness and we start at that lower level of shame, if you've ever felt shame, it's human, or grief or guilt. I shouldn't have said that. That was wrong of me. People get stuck at apathy, which is essentially hopelessness, total unworthiness. Uh, what good is why should I try? What good is it? Okay. I'm born this way. Uh, I'm, I'm a dark sheep in my family. People think that. So you can see, and then you can see the measures here at 20, 30, 50, 75, making your way up. Now, here's the key. Everything below that yellow line is the ego mind. And I'll refer to that as the ego thought system. It's running most people's lives because they don't know any better. And the ego, anytime you feel any of these feelings, the feeling of pride, yeah, victory. And as you can see it in sports, you can see it in politics. I mean, you can see it in school. My school, I went to this school and it's better than your school or it's whatever. Um, pride causes wars. Okay. Pride divides. It separates everything. So the ego, which is not only fear-based, okay, it doesn't understand the opposite, so to speak, of fear. The ego does not understand love, true love. It can't because it's an opposite. I'll explain that, well, I'll explain it right now, actually. The ego's interpretation of love is something you fall in and out of. It's conditional. It's conditional. Well, I'll love you as long as I get some kind of return. Okay. It's it's not capital L love, which is unconditional and can never be taken away. So that's a big difference. And you can see that above the yellow line. And it's the one only true universal emotion. So a lot of times people confuse feelings with emotions, the emotion of anger. No, it's a feeling. It's a feeling. And in a few minutes, I'll give you the formula on how to change that. So I call it the bridge of courage. The bridge of courage is the yellow line you see here, where we get to a point in life, and this is often when we've gone through some deep suffering. So a lot of the most awakened people on the planet went through some real deep struggles. Okay, I mean, Tony Robbins was living in the back of his car. Eckhart Tolle was homeless. Byron Katie was in the deepest form of desperation. You can actually, Wayne Dyer came out of, a child, broken family, and the list goes on and on. So oftentimes, in fact, this is what's happened to me. I went through a very deep part of my life, and you get to that point where you just say, I've had enough of this. That's the bridge of courage. I'm going to delete, detach, let go, release who I thought I was, the ego. I'm going to let go of the ego. So what does that mean? It means when you cross that bridge and learn to stay there, you don't get angry. You're tempted sometimes, and then you say, ego, I know that's you, and I'm going to choose differently. It's like you're talking to your old self. You get scared of something. Ego, I know that's you. Go back and take a seat in the corner. It's not that you ignore it and don't have it. It's just it'll surface to tell you something. So maybe give you pause to say, I should probably do an FMEA on this and really think it through before I climb El Capitan in Yosemite with no ropes, which I talked about, Alex Honnold, who's done that, and talk about fearless. One little mistake and you're gone, you're dead. It's like if you don't win the gold medal in the Olympics, you die. You have no, you can't come in second. So how do you overcome that kind of fear? Precisely what I'm talking about. You take that bridge of courage, and well, all of a sudden, what's going on in the world, the conflicts, the politics, the planet itself, the environment, the company you work for, your boss who's been a problem for you, a relationship that you've struggled with, anything. When you let go, you start what I call flow. You start to realize what I was thinking could have been wrong about this person, this job, this company, this planet, this president, whatever. And you get to that, it's neutrality. And this is what I refer to as contemplation. Contemplation is thinking things over with no judgment, no bias, just thinking about. Um, I had somebody ask me one time, uh, well, it was my ex-wife, and she said, do you still love me? I said, absolutely. I'll always love you. And this is after she put me through a very miserable divorce after 26 years and four beautiful kids. I was deeply hurt, and She goes, "Well, do you like me?" Because she tried to undo the divorce after it was already basically done. And I said, "I like some of the things you do, and I don't like some of the other things you do." So it was not an all or nothing. And when we think all or nothing, I like the president or I don't like the president. I like the company or I don't like the company. Stop and think about all the things you do like, because just changing that thought changes a whole lot vibrationally, energetically. In fact, Nikola Tesla said this, another very brilliant physicist. He said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Essentially what Einstein was talking about. Energy, and at the quantum mechanics level, what ancient mystics and spiritual gurus were saying is now actually being proven with quantum science. So it's pretty, and I'm a kind of a junkie of that stuff. So we move up the map of consciousness now, and we get beyond neutrality, where we're just very contemplative, to optimistic. We see things, we see the silver linings. If you think back to some of the times in your life that were the most difficult, they got you where you are right now. Everything that's happened in the past has gotten you to exactly where you are right now. And if you're feeling pretty good right now, none of those mistakes really mattered. They were just stepping stones. I've made countless mistakes, and I'm pretty happy about with where I am right now. And so we move up this map of consciousness ultimately toward enlightenment, which is, and there's, look at the range from 700 to 1,000. It's when you get up to that level, nothing bothers you. You see, you're wise, you're sagacious, you are beyond competition, beyond comparison. The ego compares constantly, and we grow up in that environment. In school, in sports, we grow up thinking we're the ego, and the ego loves it because the ego knows that it dies when you let it go. It dies. So when you really start to manage and mind your thoughts and your behavior, you can challenge the ego, recognizing you're not it, challenge the mind, and change the channel to the point where you are up living the most blissful, peaceful, joyful life. And people will say to you, you light up the room. You know what? When you show up, you just, I feel better. I just feel better being around you. You really truly light up the room. That's attainable for anyone. But to get there, you have to let go. So in my Beyond Doubt course with Fuel, one of the model that we use there is called the Ring of Peace, and it's 4 steps to inner peace. It's let be, let go, let see, let flow, and it's iterative. So the more you go around it and practice this tool, if you turn it 90 degrees, you ascend, you climb. So the more you practice those 4 steps, the higher you go up this map of consciousness. So an example of that is let be is neutrality. It is what it is. You cannot change what exists now. You cannot change history, so to speak. You cannot change what is. It is what it is. So if you're holding on to anger or grief or grudges for something that happened in the past, you're hurting yourself. You're breaking down your immune system. You're aging faster than you need to be. And you're getting in your own way because there's not a darn thing you can do about it. So anytime you try to control something you cannot control, which essentially is everything except your own mind, you have control over nothing but your own mind. Parents have learned that the hard way with their children, and teachers have learned that with their students. Bosses have learned that with their employees. Control is an illusion, just like fear. So the ring of peace, let be, accept it for what it is, learn from it. You made a mistake, let it be. And then let it go. What are we letting go of? The grief, the pain, the ego, all right? And then from there, we see things differently. The third step is when we let go of this anger and this pride and this grief, the world appears totally different. Two people can look at the same world and see something completely different. People above the yellow line see a world of perfect balance, perfect harmony, the whole yin yang of the universe. Everything has to be in perfect balance. So every problem has to have a solution. Night has to become day. There's the love fear dynamic. There's only love, the one true emotion, and the absence of that manifests as fear. The absence of it's like there's only light, and the absence of light is darkness. There's no source of darkness. Okay, there's only source of love. So with the map of consciousness and the ring of peace, we practice that iterative cycle, and the more we practice it, the more we flow in life. We flow with a power far beyond our own. That's true empowerment. We're aligning with the greater power of the universe, so to speak, if you will. So the formula I wanted to give you very quickly is right here. And the variables are thinking, emotion, and feeling. So, feeling is the union of the two, thinking times energy, or times the emotion. Emotion gives the thoughts energy, and that combination translates into feelings. So if you think of something like, I could hurt myself, I could lose my job, I could say something stupid up on stage, I could humiliate myself, I could make a mistake. And if that's driven by ego, by fear, think about the feelings it's going to trigger. Physically, your body's going to react to that. Your mind, by the way, when you're in fight or flight, you're more stupid, to put it bluntly, because the blood is rushing from your brain to your limbs and your extremities to run fast or fight, and it makes you less intelligent. I'll put it that way. So we manage this equation by managing our thoughts, what we choose to think about, and emotionally fueling that with love. So I could lose my job. First of all, I don't have to think about that, because if I keep thinking about it, I probably will lose my job. But even if I do, I'll land on my feet, because with love, there's no fear. So look at the formula and take a moment to think about, what kind of thoughts do you have going through the day? What are you thinking when you first wake up? Are you excited? You feel great? You're looking forward to the day. Can't wait to get to work. Can't wait to do whatever it is you do. Life is good. Or are you like, oh man, I got so much to do today. I don't know how I'm going to get it done. What are your feelings? And whatever you do feel, going back to the map of consciousness, those feelings are telling you what you're thinking and what you're fueling those thoughts with, the emotion. So you have a choice. When you take control over your mind and what you think, you can change your thoughts, like changing a radio channel. So if you have thoughts triggering fear, which was on the map, okay, you can change that thought. And instead of projecting what might go wrong, project might go right. Great athletes do this all the time. They're not thinking about losing. They're not thinking about, oh man, I'm really afraid to get out there on the field and do my thing. No, they're enthusiastically going after whatever it is they're going after, with passion, with heart, with fearlessness. So think about it now. The feeling is the union of the two, the thinking and the emotion. Thought gives direction to emotion. Okay. So emotion then, which emits from the heart. And by the way, we communicate with the universe, so to speak, electromagnetically through the heart, not through the brain, not through the head. So the thoughts trigger the heart, and the heart coherence, it's referred to, uh, sends out a signal. This is the frequency that Einstein and Tesla are speaking about. We send out a vibe, call a person's vibe, and that same vibe returns to us. All right, that's the law of cause and effect. So whatever we send out, we reap what we sow. And what we sow is energy. We sow with energy. So mind your energy. When you're feeling any of those feelings on the map of consciousness, I'll stop sharing now for a minute. We're just about out of time. When you mindfully manage whatever it is you're feeling and recognize you have the power to do that. And it takes practice. It takes vigilance to actually get like anything, get good at anything. It takes practice. So hopefully your takeaway today is a few insights now on this tool changed my life dramatically, like 20, probably 25 years ago. I've completely changed my life because I learned I could delete limiting beliefs and faulty programming in my mind. I could take control of my mind. And that frequency of energy that I began to put out has come back to me time and time again. So thank you for attending Fearless once again. Take a look at the various awesome courses offered by Fuel, and I have two, Beyond Doubt and Creative Problem Solving. Also, if you haven't taken a look at Mindset Matters yet, it's our Monday show. Danielle will be leading it next week on Don't Take Things Personally, and I'll be leading it the following week on Challenging Assumptions. We'll get deeper into that. Next Friday, I have Jim Cathcart, a legendary speaker, author, bestseller, fuel instructor, joining me, and we're going to be talking about uh, stories around fearlessness as well. So, thank you very much. You can find me on social media as author John J. Murphy, and you can go to my YouTube channel too, author John J. Murphy, because I've got a couple hundred helpful clips there. So with that, I bid you all well, and thank you so much. I see some chats here. This is great. And